I didn't mean to go on that date. That's the first truth. I was never supposed to sit across from her. I was never supposed to look into her eyes. I was never supposed to feel anything. I was just the substitute. 30 seconds. That's how long I stood outside that cafe in the rain, staring at my reflection in the glass, knowing a woman inside was waiting for my brother, not me. I told myself it would be quick. Walk in, apologize, leave, 5 minutes, max. But I didn't know that one quiet question from a stranger would crack open the safe. Predictable life I'd built around my daughter and never let anyone touch. You have to understand something about me. I don't do unpredictable. Not anymore. 3 years ago I lost my wife. Since then my world has been small on purpose. My 6-year-old daughter, Mia. My bakery. Our routines. Our safety. No blind dates. No emotional risks. No women with sharp eyes and complicated lives. Just flour, sugar, and survival. But Marcus, my younger brother, was violently sick from food poisoning. And the woman he'd been texting all week was already inside. Please, Luke, he'd begged. Just tell her I'm sorry. So I pushed through the door. The place smelled like expensive espresso and ambition. Nothing like my bakery. Then I saw her, by the window, watching the rain, calm, elegant, unbothered, and when she turned toward me, her eyes didn't show disappointment. They showed recognition. You're not Marcus, she said. And somehow, instead of leaving like I'd planned, I sat down. That was the mistake. Or maybe, that was the beginning. I should have left when she invited me to sit. That would have been the smart thing. But she tilted her head slightly and said, "You look like someone about to deliver bad news." And I laughed, not because it was funny, because she was right. My brother's sick, I said. Food poisoning. He asked me to apologize. She didn't look annoyed. She didn't roll her eyes. She studied me, like I was the unexpected part of her evening. I figured, she said calmly. You have that protective older brother energy. That word, protective, hit something inside me. It's what I've been for 3 years. Protective, responsible, careful, safe. I'll get out of your hair, I told her. Didn't mean to interrupt your night. Sit, she said softly. You're already soaked. And I'm curious. Curious. No one had been curious about me in a long time. About my bakery? Sure. About Mia? Always. But about me? I sat down before I could stop myself. I'm Natalie, she said, extending her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. Lucas. And you own a bakery, she added. I blinked. How? You smell like sugar and cinnamon, she smiled. It's not a bad thing. I felt heat crawl up my neck. I don't get flustered easily, but something about her directness made it impossible to hide behind small talk. So, she leaned back slightly. Why did you really come? Not why is your brother sick. Why did you come? I could have lied, said it was just obligation, but her eyes held steady, honest, unapologetic, and suddenly I was tired of pretending. Because I don't get out much, I admitted quietly. Because part of me wondered what it would feel like to just sit across from someone new. Just Lucas? She asked. Just Lucas. No dad. No widower. No business owner. Just a man. I swallowed. Yeah. Her expression softened, but not with pity. With understanding. And then she asked the question that changed everything. Are you lonely, Lucas? And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't know how to answer. No one had ever asked me that so directly. Are you lonely, Lucas? Not how's your daughter. Not how's the bakery. Not are you doing okay? Lonely. I felt my chest tighten. I could have deflected, made a joke, changed the subject. Instead, I stared at the rain sliding down the cafe window and said the most dangerous thing I'd said in years. Sometimes, the word came out quiet. Barely there. Natalie didn't rush to fill the silence. She just watched me, not with sympathy, with presence. That's honest, she said finally. I don't really have time to be lonely, I added quickly. I have Mia, she's 6. She needs me. That's not what I asked. Her voice wasn't sharp, just steady. You can love your daughter and still feel lonely. I looked at her then. Really looked. She wasn't challenging me to win. She was trying to understand me. That scared me more than anything. My wife passed 3 years ago, I said. The words still felt foreign in my mouth. Natalie's expression shifted, but not into that careful, fragile pity people usually give me. I'm sorry, she said simply. No long pause, no over-explaining, just truth. She made me promise I wouldn't shut down, I admitted. That I wouldn't let grief turn me into a ghost. And did you? Natalie asked softly. I let out a slow breath. I stayed alive, I said. I built routines. I kept the bakery running. I raised my daughter. That's survival. Her eyes held mine. I'm asking if you're living. That question landed somewhere deep, somewhere I hadn't let anyone go in years. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. And yet I felt more exposed in that cafe than I had in 3 years of polite conversations and forced smiles. I don't remember how, I admitted. And something flickered in her expression. Not triumph, hope. Then maybe, she said gently. You start small. Small how? She gave me a half smile, like staying for coffee. And for the first time that night, I didn't look at the exit. I stayed. That was the second mistake, or maybe the first brave thing I'd done in years. She ordered another coffee. Black. No sugar. You don't strike me as someone who adds sweetener, I said before I could stop myself. She smiled. And you don't strike me as someone who notices details unless they matter. That caught me off guard. I run a bakery, I shrugged. Details matter. Do they? She asked quietly. Or do you just use them to stay distracted? There it was again. That way she had of stepping right past the surface. I should have felt defensive. Instead, I felt seen. We talked about nothing at first. Her job, crisis management, high-pressure boardrooms, people who pretend they're in control while everything burns. Sounds exhausting, I said. It is, she admitted. But it's easier than sitting still. That felt familiar. What happens when you sit still, I asked. She hesitated. I think too much. A crack. Small, but real. For the first time, I realized she wasn't as polished as she looked. You ever wish you did something else? I asked. All the time. She traced her finger along the rim of her cup. I wanted to teach literature once, write something softer. But life got practical. Yeah, I nodded. Life does that. There was a moment then. Quiet. Not awkward. Just two people who had chosen safety over desire. Can I ask you something? She said suddenly. You seem to enjoy that. She smiled slightly. When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Because the truth? I couldn't remember. Every decision for 3 years had been filtered through one question. Is this safe for Mia? Wanting felt selfish. Dangerous. I don't know, I admitted. Natalie leaned back, studying me like I was a puzzle she hadn't solved yet. That's not living, she said softly. And for some reason, I didn't argue, because I was starting to realize she might be right. I should have ended it there. Finished my coffee, shaken her hand, walked back into the life that made sense. Instead, I asked her a question that wasn't safe. Why did you agree to a blind date in the first place? She laughed softly. My assistant thinks I work too much, she said. She said I need someone stable, predictable. And Marcus seemed predictable? So I thought. There was something in the way she said it, a quiet shift. And now? I asked before I could stop myself. Her eyes lifted to mine. Now I'm not sure predictable is what I need. That shouldn't have mattered to me, but it did. I felt something tighten in my chest. Something warm and terrifying. I'm not exactly unpredictable, I muttered. I run a bakery. I go to bed at 9. My wild nights involve Disney movies. She smiled at that. I don't think unpredictability is about chaos, she said. I think it's about honesty. I swallowed. You think I'm honest? I think you're tired of pretending you're not lonely. That word again, lonely. It felt smaller this time, less like a wound, more like a truth I was finally allowed to say out loud. I don't have room for complications, I said quietly. I have a daughter. I'm not asking for room, she replied. I'm asking if there's space. There's a difference. Room feels permanent. Space feels possible. I didn't know what I had left to give, but I knew this. Sitting across from her didn't feel heavy. It felt lighter, and that scared me more than grief ever had, because grief is familiar. Hope is dangerous. Are you afraid? She asked gently. Yes? Of me? No, I said honestly. Of wanting this. Her expression softened. I'm afraid too, she admitted. I don't know how to do something real without overthinking it. We sat there, both of us exposed in ways strangers shouldn't be. The rain had stopped outside. The world looked washed clean. I should go, I finally said. Probably, she agreed. But neither of us moved. And in that stillness I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to walk away. I stood up first, because if I didn't, I might have stayed all night. This wasn't supposed to happen, I said, trying to sound steady. What wasn't? Natalie asked softly. This. I gestured between us. The conversation, the shift in the air. She didn't look embarrassed. She looked thoughtful. Sometimes the wrong setup leads to the right conversation, she said. I almost smiled. That sounds like something a crisis consultant would say. It is, she admitted. But it's also true. We walked toward the door together. The rain had softened into a light drizzle, the street glowing under the city lights. For a second, we just stood there under the awning. Two people who hadn't planned on meeting. Two people who suddenly didn't know how to say goodbye. "What's your bakery called?" she asked. "Hale and Hearth." She repeated it quietly. "I like that." "It's on Maple Street," I added before I could stop myself. "Near the elementary school." I don't know why I said it. Maybe because I wanted her to know where to find me. Maybe because I hoped she would. "I might stop by," she said. My heart did something I hadn't felt in years. A small, reckless leap. "You don't have to," I said quickly. "I know." She stepped a little closer, not touching, just enough to make my pulse unsteady. "I want to." There it was. Want. I'd avoided that word for 3 years. "You don't even know me," I said. She held my gaze. "I know enough." Silence stretched between us. Not awkward, just heavy with possibility. "I have a daughter," I reminded her. "I know." "She comes first." "She should." No hesitation, no discomfort, just acceptance. That shook me, because most people back away when they hear that. Natalie didn't. She just looked at me like she was calculating risk, and choosing it anyway. "Good night, Lucas." She turned and walked toward her car. I watched her go longer than I should have. Then I pulled out my phone. Marcus answered on the first ring. "Well, did she hate me?" I looked down the street where Natalie's taillights disappeared. "No," I said quietly. "She didn't." There was a pause. "Luke, what happened?" I exhaled slowly. I think I just walked into something I wasn't ready for. And for the first time in years, I wasn't sure I wanted to walk out of it. I didn't sleep much that night. Mia was curled up on her side, one hand tucked under her cheek, her stuffed rabbit half falling off the bed. I stood there longer than usual, watching her breathe, reminding myself what mattered. This was my world, this small apartment, this quiet routine, this child who had already lost too much. I couldn't afford to be reckless. And yet, all I could think about were gray-green eyes in the way Natalie had said I want to. The next morning I told myself it was over. A one-night conversation. A strange, unexpected spark. Nothing more. People say things in the rain they don't mean in daylight. By 7:30 the bakery was busy. Charlie from the hardware store, Mrs. Patterson with her crossword puzzle. The usual rhythm. Safe, predictable. Then the bell above the door chimed, and my stomach dropped. She was there. Not dressed for a boardroom this time. Jeans, a soft sweater, hair loose, less polished, more real. "I'm here to test your bold claim," she said. "What claim?" "That you make the best cinnamon rolls in the city." My heart was beating harder than it should have. "You came," I said before I could stop myself. I said I might. She stepped closer to the counter. "You look surprised." "I am." "Good." I plated a cinnamon roll, the biggest one, warm frosting melting down the sides. She took a bite, closed her eyes, and for a second I just watched her. That simple, that dangerous. When she opened her eyes again, something had shifted. "I hate you a little," she said. I blinked. "Why?" "Because now I have to come back." That word, back. She wasn't here out of obligation or curiosity. She was choosing this. Choosing me. I leaned against the counter, trying to steady myself. "This isn't complicated," I said quietly. She met my gaze. "It already is." And the way she said it told me something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of that. I was. She kept coming back. Not every day, just enough to disrupt my peace. Tuesday mornings. Sometimes Thursdays. Always early. Always calm. She'd sit by the window with her coffee and cinnamon roll like she belonged there, like she'd always belonged there. And I started waiting for her. That was the problem. I'd glance at the clock around 7:30, tell myself I wasn't expecting anything, then feel that quiet lift in my chest when the bell chimed. One morning she didn't come, then the next. By the third day, I told myself it was better this way. Less distraction.
Less risk.
But the bakery felt different, quieter, like something was missing. On the fourth morning, I caught myself staring at the door again. Charlie noticed. "You expecting someone?" he asked with a smirk. "No. You've checked that door 15 times. I opened my mouth to argue. The bell chimed, and there she was. But something was off. No confident smile. No teasing expression. She looked nervous. That unsettled me. "Hey," I said carefully. "Can we talk?" she asked, not playful.
"Serious."
I led her into the small office in the back of the bakery, Mia's drawings taped to the wall, stacks of invoices on my desk. Suddenly the space felt too small. "I owe you an apology," she said. "For what?" "For disappearing." I needed space to think. My stomach tightened. About? She exhaled slowly. About you. The air shifted. I like you, Lucas. There it was. Simple. Direct. Terrifying. I know you have a daughter, she continued. I know your life is full. I know I might be stepping into something complicated. But I can't keep showing up here pretending this is just about cinnamon rolls. My chest felt tight. Hope and fear colliding at full force. You don't owe me anything, I said. I know, I'm not saying this because I owe you. She stepped closer. I'm saying it because I don't want to pretend I don't feel it. My mind raced, all the reasons to step back, to protect Mia, to protect myself. But when I looked at her, I didn't see chaos. I saw someone choosing honesty, and that scared me more than rejection ever could. I'm afraid, I admitted. Of me? No, I said quietly. Of losing this before it even begins. She didn't smile. She just nodded. Me too. And in that small, crowded office, everything changed. I'm afraid, I'd said. And I meant it. Natalie stood there, close enough that I could see the faint crease between her brows when she was nervous. Of what exactly? She asked softly. Of messing this up, I admitted. Of letting you in and realizing I don't know how to do this anymore. Of Mia getting attached and then what? She pressed gently, and then losing someone again. The word hung there. Losing. I hadn't said Sarah's name, but it was in the room with us. Natalie didn't flinch. I'm not asking to replace anyone, she said. I'm not trying to rewrite your life. I just want to be part of it. Part of it. That sounded smaller than forever. Safer than promises. You'd have to meet Mia, I said. I know. She's not just my daughter. She's my whole world. I respect that, Natalie replied. If she doesn't like me, this doesn't work. The certainty in her voice surprised me. You'd walk away, I asked. If that's what's best for her. That did something to me. Because it wasn't selfish. It wasn't desperate. It was steady. And steady feels different when you've lived through chaos. She's 6, I said quietly. She asks hard questions. Good, Natalie said. So do I. Despite myself, I smiled. There it was again. That lightness. So what are we doing? She asked. Slow, I answered immediately. Slow is good. No promises we can't keep. Agreed. No pretending this is simple. She stepped closer. It's not simple. It's real. The word wrapped around my ribs. Real, not fantasy, not distraction, not a rebound. Real meant risk. Real meant change. I took a breath. Tuesday, I said. After school. She comes to the bakery. Natalie's eyes widened slightly. You're sure? No, I admitted. But I'm willing. A small smile touched her lips. That's enough. We stood there, the world outside the office still moving. Customers ordering, ovens humming. But inside, something had shifted. Not fireworks, not certainty, just 2 scared people deciding to try. And as she reached for my hand, I realized this wasn't about replacing what I'd lost. It was about daring to build again. Tuesday came too fast. I spent the whole morning pretending I wasn't nervous. Burned 1 batch of croissants. Forgot to restock napkins. Checked the clock every 5 minutes. Mia arrived at 3:15, running straight into my arms. Daddy, I got a gold star in reading. That's my girl. I held her a little longer than usual, because in 30 minutes something was going to change. At 3:47 the bell chimed. Natalie stood in the doorway. No power suit, no guarded expression. Just jeans, a soft sweater, and a look that said she was braver than she felt. Mia noticed her immediately. That's her, she whispered. Yeah, I said softly. That's her. We walked over together. Mia, I said gently, this is Natalie. Natalie crouched down so they were eye level. Hi, she said. Your dad talks about you like you're the most important person in the universe. Mia studied her carefully, not shy, not intimidated, just assessing. Are you nice to my daddy? She asked. Straight to it. Natalie didn't hesitate. I try to be, she said. He deserves that. Mia considered this. Good, he's really nice to me. There was silence. Then Mia held up her drawing. Do you like butterflies? I love them, Natalie said. They look delicate, but they're stronger than people think. Mia smiled at that. So are we, she replied. I felt my throat tighten. Natalie glanced at me, something soft in her eyes, something steady. Can she stay? Mia asked suddenly. The question hit harder than I expected. Natalie looked at me, not pushing, not assuming, waiting. I realized then, this wasn't about fear anymore. It wasn't about replacing the past. It was about choosing the future. Yeah, I said quietly. She can stay. Mia grinned. Natalie exhaled. And in that small bakery, between flower-covered counters and a 6-year-old's drawings. The substitute stopped being temporary, and something real began.